For the last hour and a half, I've been watching the London's Burning made-for-TV film, which was broadcast back in 1986, I think it might have been. Somebody put it up on YouTube. Before that, I was lying in bed for about half an hour thinking about cheese, because I was hungry because I'd had dinner earlier than normal, so body metabolism clock, whatever it's called, was out of sync. Before that, I was listening to James snoring. Before that, somewhere around 1 o'clock in the morning, I was listening to a siren going past. Before that, I was trying to fall asleep with James twitching and flicking at the duvet. And then before that, I was trying to fall asleep with James taking up all of the bed. I could get up and I could carry on clearing on my desk and move stuff that needs to go into the spare room. I could go into the kitchen and do some washing up, but ironically, I don't want to do any of those things for fear of waking up James. I think the initials that are needed are FML. Oh, and the Dawn Chorus has just started up. So it's now just before 5 o'clock. James is due to wake up in about 3 hours' time. That's when his alarm is set for. I'm loving the cloud pattern in the sky, although I can't remember primary school when we learned about the different types of clouds and what their names were. And I'm now not sure whether to go back to bed or just to get on with Tuesday. The blackbird's still singing though. And there's a grey and white cat out on the prowl. And a wood pigeon. Maybe the grey and white cat's just sitting there. So it's just coming up to 4 o'clock. I was going to record something about midday, but I was as grumpy as hell and thought it was probably best to keep that to myself. I had something to eat around midday. Could have been breakfast, could have been lunch, could have been something in between. To be honest, I think it might have been a combination of the two all shoved on the same plate, but it was fine. I had some chocolate after that, which is sugar, which is energy, which is good. I've not yet crashed out and in bed asleep, which is also good. And I've had not quite enough Pepsi to float a battleship, but enough. My plan for today was to go into town because there was something that James wanted from one of the pound shops. I don't honestly know what time the pound shop closes, but if it closes at 4 or 4:30, I'm a little bit scuppered. If it closes at 5, I'm fine. There was something else I wanted. Oh yeah, I wanted to go to Wilkinson's to look at some of the gardening stuff and compost and bits and pieces, so I can go in anyway. I rather suspect the sunshine and bright light outside will help me. I also had a great long WhatsApp conversation with a friend of mine about men and their ability or inability to communicate, which was just nice to have a bit of solidarity sometimes. And then she ended up telling me about her toddler daughter LK, who was having her nappy changed at the same time as she was having a one-to-one with her boss. So friend and boss had the one-to-one with the sound of husband and toddler in the background just saying poo, poo, poo. Apparently, the boss found it hilarious. Boss has 5 children, so understands these things, I hope. And I've also downloaded Candy Crush onto my phone, which is a ridiculously stupid game. You can't see where all the jelly is. It's just, I don't understand what half the pieces and the boosters do, and I don't know why I've installed it or even carried on playing it when I decide that I don't like it. So yeah, that's Tuesday. I suppose I better put some trousers on. So going through the pockets of my bag before I left the flat, I found this, which was the label, my name label I had when we had the Leaders Only weekend in February, which was for the unit leaders who are going to Poland in the summer, or due to be going to Poland this summer, who will actually be going to Poland next summer. So I've collected all sorts of bits and pieces to put in a scrapbook. This is the first time I've been a unit leader, and I thought, I want to keep a record of the experience. However, due to COVID, it's not going to be the scrapbook I intended at first. It is not going to be the story I expected to tell. Gone 4 o'clock and the sunshine is still hot enough to give me sunburn. Should have done this earlier. Take 2, because the first time I didn't press the record button. So, on my trip to town, I got the cables that James wanted, the compost that I wanted, and a bonus packet of paracetamol. And some vitamin D via the sunshine. Onwards. Well, I say onwards, I mean back home. I'm back from town and I'm in my garden, and I know I've shared pictures of my garden before, that's fine. What I'm going to do today now is share some pictures of my garden with the sound of the blackbird from 4 o'clock this morning, because it was just too beautiful to keep to myself. So, just been in the garden, felt a little kind of odd pain thing on the side of my foot, and I was like, that's a bit weird. Looked down and there was a mosquito attached itself to me. And whilst I'm quite happy in recording things for this blog, I don't take kindly to insect bites, so that was shushed off rather than being documented. But trust me, I have got an insect bite on the side of my foot, and I fully expect it to be very, very itchy. Like I say, I don't take well to insect bites. Insects take well to me, but it's not a mutual feeling. So I did actually record this a couple of days ago, but I mangled my words, the lighting was terrible, so I'm recording it again. Anyway, a few days ago I was talking about my souvenirs from the opening of the Olympic ceremony, and I mentioned that I had a travel card, but I didn't know where it was. So in the detritus on my desk I found this, which is my travel card. Where's my finger gone? There you go, there's my travel card. The wallet it's in wasn't actually given to us by the Olympic Games organisers. It was a freebie given out. But because it had the Olympic Games on it, it made sense to put my Olympic Games travel card in it. There you go, on the back. This was part of the preparation to get London commuters ready for the extra traffic, or the extra influx of people that were coming to the city. And on the inside, now I thought it was just a generic London 2012 Olympics rail card. But if you look at it, it's actually very specific ceremonies volunteer. So yeah, I found it over the weekend, put it in a safe place to talk about on the vlog, then thought I'd lost it a second time, then found it again, recorded it late at night, recording was rubbish, re-recording it now. And this is going to go into my box of stuff along with the bib and the ticket and the other bits and pieces that I had. And hopefully at some point I'm going to put it all together in a memory frame. So I've more or less survived today. I think it's fair to say I've survived. Not necessarily done as much as I wanted to do, but at the same time, I haven't gone back to bed and spent half the afternoon asleep. My plan and my hope is that I will be in bed on my way to it being asleep, if not fast asleep, by the time James is on his way home. So I won't be disturbed by him rolling over all over the place, and I won't be disturbed by him snoring. Fingers crossed. Blackbird. Yeah, it's blackbird. Sorry. Where I'm sitting, I'm facing a window. So every time something goes past the window, which is normally birds, because it's first floor and you wouldn't expect people to be just walking randomly past a first floor window without help. But every time I see something out of the window, my mind is immediately, oh yeah, what? Hi. It was all right. I thought I saw a blackbird feeding its young. I tried to take my phone to see if I could get video, but there was a chimney pot in the way. Now, dancing around the chimney there were 3 or 4, or possibly even 5 blackbirds, but none of them looked small enough to be fledglings. We know, or we don't know for certain, but we are pretty sure that there is a blackbird's nest on our next door neighbour's house. Partly because the space where we think the blackbirds are nesting, we've definitely seen birds used for a nesting space before. And secondly, because on quite a few days we have woken up to the sound of crow plus blackbird, which we would guess, again, absolutely not 100% certain, but we would guess is a carrion crow trying to attack the nest and the blackbirds defending it. Last time that happened, well, not the last time, but yeah, a couple of days ago when it happened, I got up out of bed, opened the window and scared off whatever bird was there. But yeah, Mr. Blackbird, I presume it's Mr. Blackbird, is just perched on top of the telegraph wire. And I bet you anything, if I pick my phone up to try and take a photograph or to take video, he's going to disappear off. Right, I am now all officially blackbirded out. At least until my memory lapses in the next 30 seconds. Pretty non-eventful trip into town earlier today. I got the cables that James wanted, I got the compost I wanted, and I got a packet of paracetamol, which I hadn't planned on, but I think we need topping up a little bit anyway. More blackbirds. Flying from the direction which we think the nest is. So from the nest to the chimney pot. Possibly. Problem is about urban birding is if you stand in your front window with a pair of binoculars trained at your neighbour's house, people are going to start asking questions. Much as I'd love to do it, people are going to start asking questions, and I don't want to be answering those questions. Because saying, oh yeah, I'm just a bird watcher, just, whoa. Sorry, I'm getting very easily distracted here by watching blackbirds backwards and forwards between where the direction of the nest and the direction of the chimney pot. I'm going to have to look up on the OSPB website a bit more about blackbirds to see how big or small the fledglings are, because if that is parents with fledglings, it's very, very exciting, but the birds look a bit too big to be fledglings if they're, say, up against adults. I would expect fledglings to be slightly smaller and possibly slightly fluffier and furrier and not have the full adult feathers as of yet. Anyway, non-eventful trip into town. I think this is about the third time I've said this. That's how distracted I'm getting. Got everything I needed, got some paracetamol. The bag of compost I want to go back and get more. I have a duffel bag, and my plan was to go and buy compost and fill it up in the duffel bag. But now I've got one bag of compost, I can see how it fits into the duffel bag and make a guess as to how many bags of compost I may be able to fit into the duffel bag at any one time, and whether that's actually enough. Within about 30 seconds of making the observation that it was sort of late afternoon and it was sunny enough to get sunburn, I walked past two young ladies who had, one of whom even had a great big red streak down one leg, outside of her leg. So it's like, that looks like sunburn. Somebody had a bit of a paint accident in Wilkinson's. And as I was trying to leave Wilkinson's, there was a lady who needed the assistance of paramedics. Don't know what happened. Don't care what happened, not my business. But the paramedics were there trying to escort her out, and the police support, community support constables, the community support officers. That would make sense. I was just getting confused between PCSO and PCOS. Two completely different things. You don't want to be getting confused. Anyway, they were the police officers and the paramedics were trying to get this lady out, but she was sitting not too far from the exit. So it was like, I am trying to socially distance, but the only way I can do that is by walking within about that much distance of you, or one of the police officers, or paramedics, or, that group. And also, if you're moving slowly, I'd like to be able to give you space to leave. But it was just this slightly complicated. Do I wait here and make it look as if I'm queuing to pay for something, even though I've already paid? Do I push past you and look like I don't actually care about the fact that you need medical assistance? Do I ask to move past you, but then disturb the paramedics who are looking out for this lady and trying to get her into the ambulance? What do I do? But yeah, apart from that, it was fine. No major drama. James is going to go back tomorrow, possibly for more cables. I'm probably going to go back within the next couple of days, finally for compost. Given that I've been talking for nearly 6.5 minutes, and half of that has been bird watching or trying to remember what it was I was going to say, now I think would be the perfect point to sign off for the day, for Wednesday. James will be home, I think, around 9:30ish, so it's just me for supper. I keep thinking the sewing bee is on tonight, and it's not, it's tomorrow. Through the joy of Twitter, or the joy of spoilers on Twitter, I know who got sent home last week, but I haven't watched the final round. I'm trying to remember what last week was. It wasn't Children's Week, that was the week before. And it wasn't Holiday Week. Sportswear Week. That's it, Sportswear Week. I was just trying to remember what the third one is. Not the third one, the second one, the one in the middle, not the design challenge, the redesign challenge, the renovation, that one. I was trying to remember what that one was last week, and I remember it now. So that might be my TV viewing for this evening, is the final section of last week's sewing bee, so that everything is clear ready for next week. Yeah, that was simple. Got there about a minute later. up. I'm tired. I'm very tired. So within the last 2 or 3 years, Lloyds Bank have done an advert based around mental health, and they've updated it for COVID. Of all of the COVID specific adverts, this is my favourite by far, because it is the only one that has acknowledged the impact that the whole COVID experience has to your mental health. I think pretty much every single person in the country has had some impact to their mental health through COVID. And I just love it. I mean, I loved the original adverts anyway, because I think it's desperately important to talk about mental health and to destigmatise it. But this, as a COVID specific, absolutely standing ovation from me.
Would work make me feel like this?
Does it make me feel like I could lose everything?
Would this affect our plans for the future? Does this make me feel like everything's my fault?
It might do, but you're doing all right, Mum.
Oh. Will this stop me going back to work?
Whatever's playing on your mind at the moment, Lloyds Bank, in partnership with Mental Health UK, can offer you support and advice.
Lloyds Bank, by your side.